If there's that much water in the headlights, what do you think is in the crankcase? See that? Oh my God. This could end up being the most interesting car I'll ever work on. This is a 2003 Dodge Viper SRT10, and in the auction listing they have power to the dashboard, and it shows that this car should have an original 9,000 miles on it. Now the primary damage listed at the auction was flood damage, but if it wasn't a flood and they got power to the dashboard, how bad could it be, and will it ever run again? That is the $26,000 question, because that's exactly how much this car costs, and obviously it didn't just come with its flood issues, it also has a bit of crash damage on the front fender here. Now anytime you see a salvage car with two different types of damage like this, a flood and crash damage, it greatly convolutes the story of how this car ended up like this. But as we dig through this car, hopefully it will generate a set of clues as to what might have happened, and in turn that can help us figure out whether we'll be able to fix it or not and how to go about fixing it. If you take a look at everything in here, it's just so clean, and floodwaters are not that clean. They carry a lot of sediment, which will hopefully leave us a water line somewhere in the car. Talking about sediment, if we look down here in the exhaust pipe, look at this. That looks like beach sand. And this car was picked up near the beach. While there was standing water in the headlights, there is no water whatsoever in the taillights. They're completely dry. Now, to understand the origins of this car a little better, I think we should start things off with the geography lesson. I got the biggest map I could find, and it's still smaller than the hood of this Dodge Viper. We need to come over here to the great state of Florida. Now, Thomas bought this car and we picked it up at the auto auction located here in Punta Gorda. Fun fact, in Spanish, Punta Gorda means fat bitch. Punta Gorda is on the west coast of Florida, the west coast that is off the Gulf of Mexico. Sarasota, Venice, Punta Gorda, Fort Myers, and Naples are all known for their beautiful sandy beaches and their salty salt water. Which means this car wasn't just in any ordinary flood, it was the victim of a saltwater flood. Now if you learn... Alright, forget the map. If you learned anything from this segment, it's that you should rely on a digital map service when you're trying to explain geographical locations. But just like an old paper map, the Dodge Viper is very basic and analog in most of its functions. That's why so many of them end up in salvage yards crashed, because there's not a lot of aids to control its 500 horsepower V10 engine. This is a simple, light car with not a lot of modules inside. Sure, it's got a modern PCM to control the engine management and an ABS ABS system, but past that, it's not like a European car with 20 or 30 or even 50 modules in it. And nowadays it's electrical modules that could cost you way more in repair than, say, the mechanical side of things. But let's not forget we still have a saltwater flood to deal with here. The saltwater history of this car makes the future of it a bit bleak, but the fact that it is a simpler car gives us a little bit more hope that maybe we'll be able to get it on the road without a lot of costs out of pocket. The big thing going for me on this one is the fact that it's not my car. You might have heard me say that Thomas bought this car from a Punta Gorda auto auction. Thomas is a nice bloke I met on the internet, but past that, it's really all I can tell you about him. You see, he wanted to remain anonymous. Staying anonymous, especially while you're online in today's world, I think is imperative, and that's why I choose NordVPN to secure my online life. With NordVPN, one tap is all it takes for you to connect to the internet through a secure encrypted tunnel, which is untrackable anywhere in the world on any of your devices. This is especially important over public Wi-Fi hotspots, where an unencrypted network makes you an easy target. VPNs can also unlock a vast amount of content that is geographically limited on streaming services you're already using. Check this out. When I type Justice League here in Netflix, nothing comes up, but if I redirect my network traffic on NordVPN to France, Justice League and a ton of other DC Universe movies are now unlocked and ready to watch. Besides all its security and privacy advantages, did you know that NordVPN can help you save money when you shop online? I needed a fender for this project car here. It's no longer in production and they're very expensive. A used fender online here in the United States cost about $4,000. I searched all of Europe on the same online marketplace and I found some options between $2,000 and $3,000. This site actually limits what you can see based on your geographic location, meaning since I'm in the United States, I can't actually see every single fender that's available over in Europe. I went and relocated myself to the United Kingdom and up popped this fender for just £999. In this case, NordVPN helped me save over 2,000 bucks. As you can tell, there are a ton of benefits to using NordVPN, some which will pay for themselves. And right now, when you visit nordvpn.com/Samcrac or click the link in the description, my viewers are going to get an exclusive deal over at NordVPN. Now, I got to give them a huge thanks for not just saving me a ton of money on a project car I'll probably never finish, but also for keeping my online life safe and for sponsoring this video. Now, I want to go in through the passenger side of this car, in particular because the driver's side window is down, and if you look at the pictures from the auction, the driver's side window is always down, the passenger side window is always up, which tells us that quite possibly the electronics are a bit screwy, or maybe it's just got a dead battery. There's a little bit of sand in all the weather stripping here in the door sills, and you could see a little bit on the carpeting, but nothing's super wet in here, and that's likely because they already went and dried it out. When it makes sense for the insurance company to really pretty up a car before it goes up for sale, they'll do it, and they would definitely do it on a car like this Viper. Now, a big thing to see here is the back of the seats got wet, and this feels really dry, really clean, and it doesn't have that feeling like it's sticky, like it was wet at one time and they dried it off. When water got into the interior, it didn't get super high. Oh, there it goes. Look, it looks perfect back here. Like, no, come on, did no water get back here? This definitely doesn't look like water got back here. Is this for real? This doesn't make any sense. Tilted in the water is what happened. The nose went in the water. Does it not strike you as brand new?
Yeah, actually, this is kind of surprising. It feels dry.
No, this did not get water in it. We would know if this got water in it. Now, where's the battery? Did you look? Is it back here somewhere?
It said it was back here. Yeah, I think it's probably back here.
Okay, let's see. Hold on, look at this. Is this like a compartment right here? Look.
Yep.
Oh yeah, look. There it is. And so yeah, water got in down there, and look, there's all our sand. Second you open the door, you get in this car, it just smells so much like a beach. Now, the funny thing is I can't see, or at least I wasn't able to see any sort of very obvious water line. If you think of a flood that rises from the ground upward, you know, it usually will leave you some sort of indication here on the lower carpets or sometimes on the door panels themselves where water might have got. But if you look here, you know, you can see water definitely got in the speaker area. It's just kind of damp overall in a lot of places, and the dashboard is another place that if it did get this high, you know, usually you'd see a line, but what we see instead is more like water spots like water was being splashed all around here, which also kind of makes sense. Even over the cluster cowl here, you can see there's water spots pretty much everywhere. But a car that was submerged in salt water for a long time, I think this dash would be literally just destroyed, and it's not. Glove box cover's all in good shape. Let's see, nothing in here except for a little bit more sand. Cup holder and everything looks clean. What's this right here? Oh shoot, look at that. It's a power outlet and it's definitely corroded in there. The funny thing is like the metal around the parking brake here though, look. Nice shape. This leather shift knob doesn't feel too sticky. This doesn't feel too sticky. The steering wheel itself, it's so strange. The bottom of the seats themselves do have that kind of sticky feeling, like there was salt water on here one time and it got dried out. This seat actually has a little split in it over here, but this is an interior that a lot of usable parts in it. I mean, I don't see any sort of marking on this speaker grill here. I'd imagine that this is all good, but let's see what works and what doesn't. Let's see if Sage can throw power to it, and we'll see if this lights up like it did in the auction photos. All right, go ahead, hit power to it.
All right, she's good.
Lights on everywhere. Does the stereo work? Stereo's dead, but look at climate control. I mean, obviously the blower motor and everything was taken out, but climate control functions work. We got power on the dash. There's our 9,000 miles. And there goes the battery right there. But I cannot believe power still comes into the interior of this car. Now look at this. Whenever we were in the cabin and we had power to it, the window went down a little bit. You're telling me the window motor still works in this thing? Let's see this here. Now when I got the car, this was all taped shut because the door itself won't close. Go ahead and send power to it again, Sage. All right, now, you hear that? Listen. These are electronic latches, so now that I've opened it, it'll close. So that's good, but our window doesn't go up, so we gotta find a way to seal this. Look at that sand coming out of there. You see that? The car smells beachy. What in the heck happened? We're finding beach sand everywhere. Look, there's some here and there's a bunch down inside where the air intake is. This is definitely not auction lot dust. That is beach sand. This will be our first major indicator as to whether things are really good or bad. Let's see what we got. Ooh, yeah. See this right here? Milky. Every time I turn anything in this engine bay, there's sand coming out from it. There's definitely some sort of water in that head. Oh my gosh, look at this. You see that? There's sand surrounding the entire spark plug. It's just water straight up. That's gonna be a lot of water too. This is a 20-quart pan If you look at the marker here, we're a little bit less than 15 quarts right now. This Viper calls for 11 quarts, and what came out of it before that oil that's in the pan, as you saw, was all that water. It filled this pan all the way to the top. So we had about 20 quarts of water plus another 13 quarts, let's say, of oil with probably a little bit of water in it. Look at that's water right there. It's like that oil was all at the top and then the water was on the bottom. That's why it looked so thin when we got to the bottom of the pail. The story of this car is becoming clear as we dig deeper. Look at this rim. See the inside there? It's completely flat in that one corner. So this car likely hit something and then it went off the road. If we look at this rim, we don't see a whole lot there that looks abnormal. It does look all scuffed up right there though. And obviously we already saw both of these front tires are popped. So my best guess so far is that it ran over something and then went off the road. Look, as we were jacking the car up, look at how much sand came out from the underside of the car. This is insane. So the first spark plug I took out, it's very wet. And then if we go and look at the hole in which I took it out, I'm gonna shake the car so you can see it moving around, but that is water all the way to the top of the cylinder. This is not just showing you how much water is in these cylinders. This is showing you what's in those cylinders. That's straight up rust. For the longest time in my comments section and in my email, you guys have been asking for me to show you the ins and the outs of the flood cars at the salvage auction. Because after all, the flood cars are the ones that look the best there. They just look like clean, nice cars. And by the time the water has been let out of the actual cabin, I mean, if you're just looking at the pictures, you think it could be sitting on a car dealer lot. But the truth is that these things can have a monumental set of issues. It's one of the reasons why I've never personally bought an expensive flood car like this Viper. I've only bought really cheap stuff that's $1,000 or $2,000. And I've only bought those cars with the intentions of using the parts off of them. Now in the case of the Viper here, it's really sending us some mixed signals because the interior is just amazing. The fact that anything electronically works is crazy. I've seen flood cars at the auction with moisture behind the gauges, and we just don't have that here. On the flip side, the water all the way to the top of the cylinders, that's the bad news here. And really, what's inside that engine is going to dictate whether this is a salvageable project or not. I personally think if the engine is trash and it needs a complete rebuild or replacement, well, that's where it's going to be really tough because that's just the engine. And this car is going to need a few thousand in parts besides a few thousand in body work. And at the end of the day, it could be valuable, but it's all about saving money when doing these projects. It's not trying to just make a project for the sake of having a project. Now, I've been keeping in communication with Thomas as I go through this car, and I let him know the same thing that I'm telling you. If the engine is no good, personally, I would part this car out because even though it might not be a good project, it is a tremendous parts car. Each body panel on one of these cars is worth a lot, and you could get your money back easily parting it, but of course that takes a while. Or the other option would be to send it back to auction and sell it to somebody with the intentions of parting it out. You got to think, someone was behind Thomas bidding $100 less than he did, so there's definitely a market to sell this car. Now at this point, with all the clues gathered, if I had to give my best guess as to what happened, is this car was crashed into, it was pushed off the road, on its way off the road, ran over something, damaging the front wheels, popping the front tires, and it made its way into the water where the weight of the front end, that engine, kind of tilted it this way, why we have a lot of water and sand in the front, moderate amount in the interior, and absolutely none in the trunk. I could keep guessing all day long as to what happened here on the Viper, but that's not what's super important right now. What is most important is what is inside that engine. So let's go ahead and break our scope camera out. So here's a little probe here. 1 lens, 2 lenses, 3 lenses. We're going to be looking through that screen there. And I can actually switch over and record from here directly.